All right, then.
You always start.
Yeah,
Right.
you're first.
So you always in the past have equated NXT as being punk rock to where the main Raw and SmackDown, formerly the main roster, would be more pop. Is there a concern about keeping that edge on NXT now that the show's off the network and on USA every week?
I don't have that concern. I know what the intent of the show is. I know what our fan base is, and I know what I want to create there. If I wanted it to make it Raw and SmackDown, we would already have done it. But there's no intent in doing that, and there's no benefit in doing that. It's to keep it what it is. I feel in some way like we will be the band, to use your music analogy, we'll be the band that signs with a major record label, but we're not going to change what we do. We have no intent of trying to sell stadiums. We have no intent of trying to get radio airplay. It's a different time, right? We're going to get the larger music deal, but we're going to stick true to what we do. We're not looking to make pop music. We're looking to stick with the genre that we are in, and that has been successful for us. I will look to make the better version of NXT. There have been things over the years that, while successful, there are things I would have done slightly differently if we had the opportunity to. We have that opportunity now, and I think if anything, this will just get better.
As far as the creative process goes,
Yeah.
You're going from doing tapings every month to weekly. So just behind the scenes, kind of give us a little peek on how that's kind of affected the schedule and just the goings on.
I spend a lot more time in Orlando. It increases the frequency of it. But the truth is, and I've said this before, the last couple of years, NXT really came to a point where the biggest frustration that we had was, man, we just don't have the room. I'd like to debut this talent. I'd like to put this person out there. I'd like to do vignettes on this person or get them started, and you didn't have the bandwidth. Man, I'd like to tell this story, but God, we ran out of space in this show because you're trying to get to the next takeover or tell that episodic storytelling. This gives us the room to be able to do that. It increases the bandwidth for us to be able to open that opportunity up to talent that maybe weren't getting the opportunity in the last year, 2 years, because we only had the hour show. It's not about, okay, so now it's weekly, so increase the speed of how you do things. It's maintaining the pace and the consistency that we had, but using that time to open it up bigger and expand the audience. Now that means there'll be a lot of talent that'll debut and be a part of this brand on a weekly basis. They might not be in takeovers, and people have to change their perception of how that is. Well, I can't get in on a takeover because I'm not in this storyline. No, you prove yourself in these storylines, you get to the bigger storylines, you get in takeover. This will be the brand where, there'd be no participation medals. You earn your spot and you'll grow into that spot. We're not going to make takeovers longer because there's more bandwidth for longer storylines. It's keeping, like you said, it's keeping the product what it is, just having more opportunity for people.
I know this has been a long time in the making when it comes to NXT going on USA, but when did you really start to feel confident that that deal was going to happen?
I would say probably about a year and a half ago. For me, was the reality that this is going to happen. It's just a matter of when. Everybody was talking about it. Everybody was talking to us about it. Even just randomly getting the calls of like, hey, would you guys consider this? Yes, we would consider that. What would that have to look like? Well, let's talk about it, right? When those conversations start to happen enough, you're seeing enough fish in the water that you're going to catch one, and it just took time. When we started to get later in the process, it started to get to, well, hold on a second now. There's going to be a significant change that looks like it's going to happen in the landscape. So do you want all these changes to kind of hit at the same time? And that is this course of time that you're looking at right now, this week, of the reboot of Raw and the premiere, the debut of the 2-hour NXT on USA, and Fox broadcast taking SmackDown Live on Friday nights, this sort of epic week. That's been being planned for a while as well, and getting the timing of that down became very strategic.
With Full Sail, is there something in place, a contractual agreement that we're going to do NXT Live for a year, for 2 years, or something like that with them?
So it's a funny thing with Full Sail. We've I know we have some things papered, but very little. We almost kind of just, the very start of Full Sail, I heard about this university here that did all the things we did behind the scenes, and that it was this crazy, wonderful place, and I wanted to see it. And I walked in not expecting, because we were just still looking for the performance center and everything else we were going to do. And I walked in there, and I walked in Full Sail Live for the first time, and it was empty. And but it had a Tron on one end, and it was this empty studio, and I was like, I could shoot TV in here. And that was the idea. And we went to them, and they were like, we talked about it, and they were like, all right, we'll think about that. Let's put something down, and we'll let you pilot an episode here. And we did it, and it worked, and it was good for them. And we started to talk about how we could do it and how we could make it benefit. They were college, so how can it benefit your students? How can it this? How can it that? And we created this wonderful partnership between the two of us. When I say they're some of our best partners, I really mean it. When this opportunity came up, we sat down with them and we're like, look, this is our intent, is to stay here. Don't know that this will work for you. Like, you're at college every week, like, can this work? And they were like, we're gonna have to look into that. Let's see. And we would love to make it work, and how can we make it work? And there are some things we'll have to do differently, and some things we'll have to change. And hey, we'd like to change this. And there are some things that we wanted to change about the facility, and they were like, I don't know. But then we showed it to them, and they were like, oh my God, that's amazing. We'd love to do that with you. And we have this wonderful partnership with them that's hard to put into words, and it's just continuing on. And I think part of the secret sauce when people look at NXT is this building, the fan base that's there. They've created, not every single one of them, but a lot of them have been here since the first shows, and they come to everything, and they support it from day one. As when I say we are NXT, I as much mean them as the production people that are here, the talent that have worked on it. We put money into scholarships, funds. There's so many. Now when I'm at other places out, I was on the Fox lot a month ago, and a kid came up to me and he said, introduced himself. He said, I work here on Fox now, and he had a big project he was working on there. He said, I worked on NXT with you at Full Sail, and thanks for the opportunity. That experience got me here. And to hear that, this is incredible. To see that partnership. NXT is about the growth of all this stuff. We said it in the beginning. We're training camera guys, we're training sound techs, we're training everybody, and Full Sail's a huge part of that. So our partnership with them is massive. I can't state it enough.
Is there a plan B, real quick? Is there a plan B, just in case, like 1 week, something happens, unfortunately, at Full Sail Live? Where are we going to do the show?
Yeah, there is, and we have that in place. We have a couple of contingency plans of places that we could go and sort of, hey, if we needed to real quick, we're going to pull out of there, drop anchor here for a week, and go someplace else. I hope we don't have to do that, but you never know, right? And look, there's been opportunities before where we've come in here, and you've seen it here, where for whatever reason, Full Sail had something happening here that they just couldn't move, and we had to go down the road, or we went to center stage, or different places. They have moved mountains for us to be here at various times, and to be here on a weekly basis, which is greatly appreciated. And we do everything we can in our power to stay here as much as possible.
When it comes to expectations from USA, what do they kind of look for, whether it's a rating or just an audience growth over the next year or so, you'd say?
It's hard for me to say exactly what they're looking for long term. I know they're thrilled with where we are, right? All this sort of came together really quickly in the tail end of it, as we were just going from, hey, the deal's done, to executing. And we never really got into the expectation is this. As funny as that sounds, because I think we just all kind of inherently, we've all been together so long with USA, we kind of inherently know what we're looking for. When those ratings came out after the first episode, and I spoke to Chris McCumber at USA, they were thrilled. Beyond what they were hoping for, beyond what they were expecting, and thrilled. So now for me, it just becomes, I know what we can do, and I just know that I want to grow it. I want to grow it bigger. I learned early in the process with NXT, when somebody first suggested that we go to Barclays Center for a takeover, and it was the first thing I'd balked at when it was thrown at me, and I was like, oh my God, Barclays Center, and I don't want to go there and be half full, and I don't think that's a good idea, and it was kind of pushed on me. like do it. And I was almost resistant to doing it, and it sold out immediately. And I was like, I'm thinking too small. Like I have to. It made me sit down and reboot my thinking to think I need to think outside of the box of where I'm at and think bigger than this. To me, sky's the limit on this. I want this to be every bit of the brand. If we can build this up to where it in some manner, and I know we look at it, you look at it differently. You say pop music, but I want it to be as big as Raw and SmackDown on a certain level. That's the goal, anyways. Can I get there? We'll see.
How has the production concerns for the show changed, especially with production people now working on Raw and SmackDown on Mondays and Fridays? How does that change the makeup of how you're producing NXT, and how does it change, commercial breaks and network concerns? How does that change the feel backstage as you're producing?
There's a lot more increased scrutiny, right? Of you got to get off the air certain times, certain commercial breaks, certain this, certain that. Talent have to hit their time cues. It's something that we work on here anyways, because you want everybody to be ready for that opportunity when and if it comes. Raw and SmackDown, that's how it is, right? So it's something that we always work on. For the last year, we've put an extreme emphasis on that because we knew something like this was coming. From a production standpoint, we've also, as a company, known this was coming. And you've seen us experimenting with different shooting options and techniques, and doing smaller live event broadcasts, and then doing sort of kind of mixed level of broadcast, and larger. You see larger Raw and SmackDown productions, you see larger pay-per-view productions, you see smaller standalone takeover productions where it's not so much about the bells and whistles, it's more about the in-ring, so you can scale that down and make it more down and dirty and gritty, what it should be. But you also see then just the straight-up capture content, and so different formats, but putting all those people in place across all those options has been something we've been working on for the last year and a half, or maybe longer than that, so that when opportunities like this do come, you have the people in place. It's just pulling the trigger of where they go. Are people busier? Yeah. Right now, there are some people that did Raw, and then they flew here, and they're going to do this show. I'll leave here tonight and go straight down to LA for SmackDown. Not everybody will do that. Everybody will move around and do bits and pieces, and we'll keep everybody where they need to be. And the one great thing about what we do, there's a lot of people out there that do this. It's also part of the great partnership of Full Sail. When I talk about the growth of this, we used to have the same camera guys all the time. This opportunity created a different place. So a lot of our big camera guys now came out of here. And those camera guys that were camera people for us, now they're directing and producing at a different level. And different people are doing the jobs they used to have, and now you have new people here doing this job here, but they're ready to bake up when the time is right. So you're constantly building this bench of all the jobs that we have in WWE across everything. So all this growth is phenomenal, but you have to be ready to grow. If you just all of a sudden the opportunity is there and you're not ready for it, then you're in trouble. But you have to see ahead of it, plan for what's going to come in the future, and plan for that growth. And that is the key of doing this systematically, that growth, and not just going like, well, we had an opportunity to do this now, so let's just do it now. You got to say, we have the opportunity to do this now, but let's hold off and do it here because it's better. We can prep for it, we can prepare for it, we can be ready, and we can knock it out of the park instead of just getting up a bat and taking a cut at it.
Thank you so much for your time.
Makes sense?
Yeah,
Thank you,
for staying
guys.
overtime
Thank
for
you.
us.
I appreciate it, guys. Thank you very much.